Around 1 month ago, you most likely saw this video on your YouTube recommended, and if you're a major Pokemon fan, then you probably watched it and were like, wow, this is really sick, I wonder where it came from. Well, I reacted the exact same way, and took it upon myself to find this manga series, and even read it. And by my surprise, I found that this series was called Pokémon Festival of Champions, and it's actually a doujinshi, or more commonly known as a fan manga. It was created by the legend that is Seijun09, if I said that right. This series actually started all the way back in 2010, with its creator slowly creating new chapters for the manga. Currently there's 14 chapters, but today I'll only be covering the first few, as I highly recommend you read this manga for yourself, because it's one of the best, if not the best unofficial Pokemon media created. So I hope you're all ready for my review on Pokemon Festival of Champions. Let's go! The manga follows Red, Green and Blue, all trainers from the Pallet Town and their journey to win the Indigo League. Although this is a simple concept, it's enhanced by the brilliant storytelling and awesome references that the manga gives us, bringing along fan theories such as Blue's Raticate dying and making them important parts of the stories that give the trainers actual reasons why they should fight and act. This series is very mature and it handles the characters with care, making sure all of them get proper development and not rushing into any of their backstories. Whilst on the topic, I'll talk about the characters. Up first of course is the main character Red. Just like his adventurous counterpart Red and his anime counterpart Ash, he's a hot-headed trainer who loves Pokemon battles, wishing to become the strongest in the world. As I said before, a simple concept and nothing special. But the thing about Red is he didn't have this ambition before. Instead, he was a pretty lost child, not knowing what path to take in life, as well as being envious of his friends Green and Blue, who both had dreams they wanted to chase. After a touching encounter with a Pikachu that had been abused, as well as watching some old battles from Professor Oak, Red decides on his dream to become the strongest in the world, and a couple years later, he sets off on his first journey. On his journey, Red goes through the usual gym battle and Team Rocket encounters, but during the Battle of Silphco is when things get crazy, as Red gets overcome by his emotions to take down Team Rocket and get revenge for Cubone. This leads to a life and death battle with Giovanni, which Red barely wins, and some of his Pokemon come close to dying. After this event, Red reflects on his actions, believing himself not to be qualified as a trainer, even going as far as to crying and nearly releasing his Pokemon, but due to his team convincing him that they also share his dream, they all make up and continue their journey. This type of writing is how I believe Pokemon should be, as a child battling against a criminal organization is no joke, as it can even lead to them getting hurt, or even worse, getting killed. Which brings me on to my next character, Green, who just like Red aims to become the strongest trainer in the world. However, unlike Red, he's smart, calculated and plans ahead. Green used to be like his other counterparts, being a crocky brat, but after an incident, he becomes very cold. But behind his cold exterior lies a broken trader who struggles with the loss of his Pokemon and blames himself to this day. As I said before, Green's Raticate actually ends up dying in this world, and it was because he got involved with Team Rocket. Before, Green never wanted to get involved with Team Rocket, seeing it as a waste of his time and none of his business. But due to Raticate wanting to save the Pokemon that had been captured, he bites and they free them. However, this choice would end up having bad consequences, as Team Rocket would use self-destruct against Green and his team. Green and his team would end up having to try and escape, with Growlithe leading the way and Raticate being behind. They do successfully escape, but not without consequences, as Raticate would soon pass away after due to poison and injuries. This scene really hits hard, as Green blames himself for not noticing Raticate's condition. And not only that, getting involved with Team Rocket, and after this incident, Blue would vow to never get swayed by his emotions again. This would lead to him becoming the cold trainer that we see now, with him hiding his emotions behind a cruel exterior. The last main character I want to talk about is Blue. Just like the other two, Blue is also from Pallet Town. However, unlike them, when those two had their first Pokemon, Blue had nothing, so when it came to stopping the two from fighting, she could only use her own body. This would lead to her getting bit and causing a fear of Pokemon. This fear would lead to her not starting her journey with the other two, instead having to play catch up through the help of Bulbasaur and some gloves. She does eventually catch up to the two, and the three spend some nice time together. During these nice times, Blue would then form a good bond with Green's Eevee. However, this would end up being the last time the three trainers would meet on good terms, as after this, Red and Green would both have their incidents with Team Rocket, whilst Blue on the other hand was left to face the cruel reality of the world whilst her friends suffered. Green would eventually trade Blue his Eevee, as he realised it didn't want to fight after the death of Raticate, and he had no need for a Pokemon that didn't fight. Although this seems like it came across as Green being a jerk, both trainers knew it was probably for the best. Blue would try and cheer up this Eevee and introduce it to her team, but in doing so, she made things worse due to her fear of Pokemon actually surfacing as a fear of rejection. I really like this choice, as Green never really got over her fear of Pokemon. Instead, she just hid it by wearing the gloves, which wasn't a proper solution, rather a temporary fix. And because it showed up at the worst time possible, Eevee falls into a deeper depression and Blue goes into a panic, being unable to touch even her Ivysaur. Blue would then get in contact with Red and discuss what she should do, but they're interrupted when Red is attacked by Team Rocket, which made Blue finally realise how out of the loop she really was. So when she arrived at the Silph Co battle, it was already over, with both Red and Green falling into states of depression. As I said before, with the help of his team, Red overcomes this depression, but Green on the other hand just tucks it away and hides it instead. Blue would eventually get over her fear through the help of Ivysaur, and her goal would finally be realised to help heal the wounds of Eevee, which she happily succeeds in doing, evolving Eevee into an Espeon. Although it's Gen 1, Eevee evolving into Espeon was a really good choice, as it evolves through happiness, and with the sun rising at that right moment, it really worked for a perfect scene. And to be fair, it doesn't really matter if it's Gen 1, because if a Pokemon evolves, it just evolves, it doesn't matter the generation. For the characters and their stories, I'm actually going to choose to stop here, because as I said before, you really need to read this for yourself, to really understand how good this manga is. So now, instead, I'm going to talk about some characters who appear in this manga that may actually surprise you. In this, we get to see AJ from the anime, Reggie, Paul's older brother, Skylar, Volkner, Flint, Faulkner, Karen, Will, Misty, Gold, Claire, and even Steven, with some of these trainers being in the tournament and others just being spectators. Both are really cool to see, and there's probably a ton more characters that I missed as well. These inclusions really help with the world building, as although they're from other regions, when they were younger they probably would have gone to other regions for adventures, just like Ash does, so this was really cool. Man oh man, I say really cool a lot, don't I? And the inclusion of these characters aren't just references, as they get good amount of development with bonds to other characters as well, so when they lose, we feel really bad for them. The Elite Four also make an appearance, as expected, and these guys give off some mad pressure, as they should though, as they're the top 4 strongest in the Kanto region, which is a really nice thing. And it also brings me nicely to the next topic, which is this manga has some breathtaking visuals with amazing art style that really shows the characters' expressions well. Seijun also chose to make the Pokemon look like the monsters they can really be. So when you pair up amazing designs with emotional moments that make you cry, and crazy battles that rival the anime, and you have a manga that's even better than official media. Like seriously, how does this guy make this stuff? Well, that's all I have to talk about in this video, and I hope I've convinced you to check out this fan manga. And also don't forget to support the original creator, Seijun09. I'll be sure to put all his links in the description. Now with all that said and done, take care.